Britain has a long and proud gardening heritage.
And a passion for plants that goes back centuries.
But all is not well in our once green and pleasant land.
Front gardens paved over.
Our lawns lacklustre.
And rare wildflowers on the brink of extinction.
So we need you to help us.
In our campaign to help rediscover
Our passion for gardening.
We're going to give you the best gardening tips.
And revealing British gardens that will quite simply take your breath away.
It's time to plant and prune.
And sharpen your shears.
Let the Great British Garden Revival begin.
On tonight's show, Joe Swift champions the Great British Front Garden. But first, I'm on the Wildflower Revival campaign.
When I was a child, the countryside around where I was brought up in North Hampshire was filled with wildflowers, all appearing in their season, whether they be the first primroses, the violets. The lanes and the fields were spangled with these lovely jewel-like flowers. Now, that has nearly completely disappeared. Over 98% of our wildflower meadows have gone forever. They simply don't exist anymore. But I passionately believe that it's not too late. Every gardener across the country can grow our beautiful native wildflowers to support the rich and varied ecosystem that our entire world depends on. Join me, Monty Don, for the Great British Wildflower Revival.
To get my revival underway, I'll show you how to create your own beautiful wildflower meadow.
There. I've made my lawn look dreadful.
I try my hand at harvesting an ancient meadow in the traditional way.
Whoops, sorry, that's not good.
He could be doing it better.
You could be doing it a lot better.
And I get a privileged glimpse into the botanical equivalent of Fort Knox.
This is the world's largest biodiversity hotspot, this room here.
And I can tell you, hot it is not. This is Pensthorpe, over 650 acres of wildlife reserve in Norfolk. And it has an incredible range of wild animals and plants. So it's the perfect place to begin my wildflower revival.
Meadows like these are a living remnant of what our countryside used to look like. But during the Second World War, the drive to produce more homegrown food meant that many of our meadows were ploughed up for cereal crops or fertilised for extra grass. And as a result, it is estimated that today only 2% of our ancient meadows with their lovely wildflowers survive. We can all play a role in bringing our wildflowers back, but creating the right environment for them has its challenges.
The problem with a wildflower meadow is grass. Where grass grows well, it tends to swamp everything else. Luckily, there is one flower that can solve the problem of grass at a stroke. It's a kind of magic bullet. It's called yellow rattle because the seed heads, which you can see here, rattle as you go through them. And sometimes when you walk through a great sea of yellow rattle, you have these maracas rustling away at your feet. Yellow rattle is semi-parasitic on the roots of grass. So it's taking the grass's vigor. And as a result, the grass never gets strong enough to suppress either the rattle or other plants around it. And because the grass is dying back, in the wake of the yellow rattle, all kinds of other plants will come in. And you develop very quickly a lovely wildflower meadow.
So, with yellow rattle as my secret weapon, I'll show you a few other essential tips to ensure success in establishing your own patch of glorious wildflowers.
It doesn't matter whether you're making a small area around a bench or a great big meadow. If you want to create an area of wildflowers, you've got to impoverish the grass as much as possible. So here we have an area where the grass is looking pretty rough anyway, which is great. Poor grass is fantastic. Set your mower to its lowest level and sculpt it. Cut it so it's suffering. And then when it's on its knees, now's the time to give it a good kicking. Now it helps if you have a really strong rake, because this means that you can really dig in. Grass is a thug. It gets into the soil and then bullies its way. It dominates its neighbours. So the point of this brutal exercise is not to let the grass dominate early on in the process. There. I've made my lawn look dreadful. But I want bare patches of soil because that will allow the wildflowers that I'm sowing a chance to establish. If secretly you've always resented the tyranny of keeping the perfect lawn, well, now is your moment. Rip it up and sow some wildflowers and you'll have a beautiful wildflower meadow that will look much nicer than a lawn for a lot less trouble. I've got 3 sets of seed here, but the really important ingredient that I must add to it is semi-parasitic yellow rattle. So the yellow rattle starts my mix. This is the small scabious.
Small scabious is one of our most nectar-rich flowers and will attract a huge variety of moths and butterflies to your garden.
A little bit of hawkbit.
Rough hawkbit is a bright yellow daisy that has the ability to regenerate and flower again even after close cutting.
And finally, some knapweed.
Knapweeds are one of our longest flowering groups of wildflowers and will last into early autumn.
Now you can see I've got hardly any seed in there. There is no point in oversowing because all you'll be doing is having young plants competing with each other for nutrients and water and light, and that won't help. And once they're established, of course, they will set their own seed, so they will increase at a rate they can sustain. Now, when it comes to sowing, we will just sow them thinly. And I'm not worried about an even distribution. It doesn't matter if I have a little group of one thing or a clump. Nature doesn't create a sort of perfectly harmonized, coordinated look. It's patchy. What you now have to do is tread it in, because to get good germination, you need direct contact between the seed and soil. So, just tread over it like this, pushing the seed down against the soil. And where it's fallen on grass, the rain will wash it down, but we're just helping it on the way.
And in just a year or two, your mini meadow could look like this. A tapestry of colourful wildflowers and home to a rich diversity of wildlife. The few remaining ancient meadows that still exist in the countryside have taken hundreds of years to evolve, and the only way we can increase them in the future is by protecting them and re-establishing new ones. Coach Road Field in East Sussex is one of our oldest meadows. The estate manager, Keith Datchler, is one of a small but passionate group of people across the UK who've taken up a royal challenge.
Coronation Meadows is a project inspired by His Royal Highness Prince of Wales. He wanted to celebrate the 60 years of his mother's reign by identifying and recognising 60 surviving ancient meadows. So truly ancient land surviving with its species richness.
And this is one of them?
This is one of them. It's been farmed totally traditionally since anybody can remember.
Now, when you say species rich, what are we talking about?
There might be 250 different species in this field. And when you start to think that each one of those will be a host to something,
yes,
then you can see that meadows really are the base of the conservation pyramid.
Coronation meadows like this one are a vital source of wildflower seeds that will provide the blueprint for more and more meadows across the UK. So I'm joining volunteers and members of the Scything Association to make hay while the sun shines.
You need to keep it on the ground. On this kind of grass, press it into the ground as well.
Right.
Nearly right. On the ground.
Right.
And even smaller steps than you were doing before.
Okay,
Literally baby steps.
Right.
For millennia, hay was cut with scythes, exactly like this. Cutting and removing the grass is essential for keeping the soil fertility low, which is the key to successful wildflowers.
Whoops, sorry, that's not good.
It may look easy, but there's more to this than meets the eye.
He could be doing it better.
You could be doing it a lot better. Instead of standing with a mocking look on your face, watching my pathetic efforts. Why do you use a scythe?
I started scything because I wanted a low-carbon way of keeping the grass down on my allotment, and I got hooked. When you get in the flow of it, it's absolutely amazing, and the grass just falls over like it's been unzipped from the ground.
I like the way that it's not invasive. Insects get a chance to hop out of the way. Frogs and mice can scurry out of the way of the blade. Whereas when you've got a socking great machine, everything is just gobbled up in its maw and spat out.
And there are other merits to putting the brakes on every now and again.
I've used trimmers and heavy machinery and noisy machinery, and I've been kitted up to the eyeballs. And it's not fun. This, I absolutely love.
You feel what the ground is doing more, like you can feel like how the blade is cutting through the grass, whereas with a machine, things like the wildflowers, you don't notice as much.
For some of the volunteers here today, the ancient skills of scything have given them a fresh perspective on modern-day farming methods.
It's a great way of dealing with those areas that you couldn't otherwise deal with. And it's those corners, they're the harbours that we've just got to not just protect, but increase somehow.
Rather than being turned and made into hay, this freshly cut grass is loaded up and taken to a nearby recipient field.
And that will spread the seed so that we can make a new meadow from that.
Just like the mini meadow that I sowed earlier, it will take a few years for this to establish. But it will happen and add to our tiny stock of beautiful meadows filled with flowers.
So we're creating something that is not just beautiful, but a really important seed bank, something to pass on to future generations. It's a very simple idea, but boy, it's a really powerful one too.
Back at Pensthorpe, many of the wildflower meadows have been recently reclaimed and reseeded from unfertile farmland under the watchful eye of the head warden, Ed Bramham-Jones.
On the farm here, we have recreated 50 acres of wildflower meadows by taking land, poor land out of production and sowing with wildflowers.
So they're a really important part of the whole ecosystem.
Without the wildflowers, we wouldn't have that huge array of wildlife here. We wouldn't have as many bees, butterflies, dragonflies, snakes, frogs. It's kind of like a little microhabitat here, and therefore there's food for birds and mammals. The more we can encourage the wildflowers, the more kind of wildlife comes into this area.
If you are inspired to do your bit and champion your local wildflower meadows, there are lots of common wildflowers that you can collect as the seed heads mature in late summer. With over 300 species of wildflowers here at Pensthorpe, there's a huge variety for me to collect from.
Here we are in September, and it's a subtle tapestry that is every bit as beautiful as the intense colours you get in June or July. And I love it, and it shows you that wildflowers actually can look good from early spring well into autumn. And of course, the dried seed heads are there to be collected. This is knapweed. And it looks like a dried up scruffy thing, but in there we've got the seeds.
It's fine to collect a small amount of common species when found in abundance, but always check and seek permission from the landowner first. Devil's Bit scabious is a stunning lilac blue, nectar-rich wildflower that prefers moist soil, so it's thriving here in the damp meadow. It's also the preferred food plant of the marsh fritillary butterfly. Wild carrot, or Queen Anne's lace, is another common but beautiful British native. And as the flowers mature and turn to seed, the seed head closes to provide a shelter for all sorts of insect life.
A very common but beautiful wildflower is this bird's foot trefoil. It's got these distinctive, really strong yellow flowers. And they're called bird's foot trefoil because look at the seed here. There's the seed head, a very distinctive sort of hen's foot feature of these long pods full of little seeds, just like peas in a pod.
However, most of us don't have the chance to collect our own seed. But there are specialist seed merchants that will grow, mix and supply an astonishing array for you. The intensively farmed fields of Norfolk might seem an unlikely place to find a specialist wildflower seed merchant. But 33 years ago, the botanist Donald McIntyre chose to pioneer the farming of native British flowers for seed here.
What prompted your interest in wildflowers?
I've always been a country boy, and my mum too. When I was a little lad, she used to take me for walks looking for wildflowers. And I can remember being a young boy of about 5, my sister 2, sitting in a field just by the church where my parents got married. And it was full of flowers. Now they've all gone. They've all gone. We cannot just eliminate all biodiversity from our environment and just grow food crops.
And where do gardeners come into this?
Today, wild gardens provide a really rich habitat for invertebrates. I think there's been some recent research which has found that the number of invertebrates found in gardens is greater than found on normal farmland.
Every year, Donald grows up to 300 species of native flowers and grasses, and these must all be dried, sorted and cleaned before creating recipes that are custom-made for your particular soil and situation. Right. As shown to me by the manager, Richard Brown.
So just tip it on top?
Yep.
Is that a particular group of grasses?
That's a selection of grasses for a clay soil. Now what we need to add is the diversity in terms of the flowers.
What would it cost to do a load of seed like this?
Well, the flowers are the expensive bit, and the grasses are the relatively inexpensive.
Yeah.
The total for this area is something about £8,000, of which 6,000... Sorry?
£8,000?
Yes.
For a thing of seed like this?
That's right.
Wow.
But in terms of the number of seeds that you're getting for that money, it's millions and millions.
£20 will buy you a handful of seed mix sufficient to cover an area the size of a tennis court, so it's actually fantastic value.
There we go.
Once the base of wild grasses is raked out, we're ready to add the wildflower seeds to the mix.
How do you select what is best to add to it in terms of the diversity?
Well, we use the natural meadows, that are the few that are remaining, as our model, because that's a community that works. That gives us an idea of what proportions we're aiming for. And then also you've got to know how they behave when they're sown. I often call it the hare and tortoise model. So you've got some species like oxeye daisy, which is a hare, establish very quickly and produce a result soon. And the cowslip is the tortoise, grows very, very slowly, might take 2 or 3 years to get there, but actually do a good result in the end and hang in.
What's particularly fascinating about watching this process of seeds gathered from the field and got ready for delivery is how bespoke it is. Every conceivable situation can have a seed mix precisely to suit it. And of course, the implications for us gardeners are that whatever garden you have, wherever it is, you can grow a wildflower mix.
You don't have to have a field to grow wildflowers. Back at Penthorpe, I want to show you the easiest way to create your own wildflower meadow in a very modest space.
Whilst it would be lovely to have your own wildflower meadow that you could scythe and gather the grass from, most of us don't have that opportunity, and some of us don't have gardens at all, or very, very small ones. But there's no reason why you couldn't grow wildflowers in a container. I've got an old tin bath here with holes drilled in the bottom for drainage, and I'm going to make a little meadow based upon chalk downland. Chalk downland has perhaps the richest number of species of wildflowers in the UK. One of its characteristics is that it is very freely drained alkaline soil. So to mimic that, old smashed up pots, polystyrene chips will do, anything that will improve drainage. And on top of it, I've even got some chalk limestone to improve that quality of downland. Now this means that the roots will get down into alkaline soil. They will feel at home. Now on top of that, I'm putting some of the local topsoil.
And if you don't have any soil, you could use seed compost, which is low in fertility.
If in doubt, mix it with some grit to lower the fertility even more, because these wildflowers have evolved to thrive in poor conditions, whereas their competitors, grass, docks, nettles, will romp. And once they romp, then they suppress those lovely wildflowers. Right, this is now ready for planting. I've got a tray of plugs here, all chosen for their suitability for chalk downland. And a plug is called a plug because it's a plug of root and soil. And it's a very convenient way to set plants going which are already established. You don't have to worry about the seeds. Now this wild thyme still got that lovely hot summery aroma. With a plug, all you have to do is make a hole with your finger and pop it in. It's as easy as that. So let's have a couple of wild thyme in there. Now for flowers, I've got some oxeye daisies. They can take over a little bit, but they're pretty. It's a mistake to plant them evenly. You want to think in terms of groups. These will spread and sort themselves out. The field scabious, Nautia arvensis. I'm going to put a little group on this side. Now I've got a form of St. John's wort here, Hypericum perforatum, which will give us a little bit of height. All these, I stress, are designed to thrive in chalk downland. But you can get plugs for lots of different types of situation. Now this is not a bedding scheme. This will evolve and change, and some plants will die. Others will take over and become too dominant, but that's the nature of a meadow. So all I've got to do now is just water it and leave it. These plants are completely hardy, they don't need any kind of protection, and they'll be fine.
Penthorpe is an inspiring example of how acres of wildflowers can be restored, and shows that it is possible to turn the tide for our wildflowers and drastically change the numbers in their favour.
A great meadow filled with flower is one of life's great joys. But the really critical part is the seed. Without those seeds, we can't possibly keep our wildflowers. So not only is it important to look after them, but we must treat them as precious, because if we lose them, they're gone forever.
Seeds are the ultimate time capsules. And if we can safeguard our remaining wildflower seeds for the future, then we can return acres of wildflower meadows to our landscape. And that's exactly what the pioneering Kew's Millennium Seed Bank has been doing to secure the future of our British native plants.
This is Wakehurst Place, set in beautiful Sussex countryside. Here they are collecting, or at least attempting to collect, every single seed in the world.
In excess of 2 billion seeds are kept here. Of these, almost the entire UK population of 1,300 native wildflower species are meticulously logged. This collection is incredibly valuable and is stored under lock and key in an underground bunker, which I'm getting a rare opportunity to visit.
It's got overtones of James Bond, of a nuclear bunker, of a bank vault. This is a place that is built to last, and this enormous slab of steel. It's giving out this message that whatever is inside here is both very valuable and incredibly well protected. Now, there are cold rooms leading off from here, and they're really cold, -20, so I need to put on some protective clothing.
The Arctic temperature keeps insects and pathogens at bay and prevents the seeds from germinating whilst in storage.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, it is cold in here, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Chilly.
Yes.
Janet Terry has been looking after the seed bank for the last 32 years.
Now, what I love, you walk in here and this marvellous high-tech building and all these resources, and it's kilner jars.
They've proved to be probably the best container that we've managed to find to keep the seeds dry in the -20.
In this -20 temperature, these will keep for how long?
Some of them will live for hundreds of years. Some of them will only live for tens of years.
Each one of these seeds holds the genetic blueprint for a species of plant, some of which are extremely rare and endangered in the outside world.
So in this room, you have the entire UK native flora, bar one or two.
Exactly.
In here.
Yep. This is the world's largest biodiversity hotspot, this room here.
Really?
Yeah.
Just let's take that thought again. This is the world's largest biodiversity hotspot right here. And I can tell you, hot it is not. It's freezing.
In the last few years, this seed bank has helped to revive 5 of Britain's most endangered species.
In this storage facility, I'm seeing the whole world of botany. Forests, meadows, savannas, jungles, gardens, stacked up in one place.
And when you start to think about the potential held in these vaults, it's not only mind-boggling, but deeply reassuring. Wildflowers are staggeringly beautiful, but usually very undemanding to grow, as well as providing a vital habitat for our native wildlife. And once you start to grow them, you might find yourself getting hooked. When Linda Laxton moved house in the 1980s, she wanted to fill her Georgian cottage with the native wildflowers that she had loved as a child. But after failing to find any wildflower seeds or plants to buy, she decided to collect a small amount of wildflower seed and to grow her own.
At the end of the first year, I'd got so many that I decided to sell them at a car boot, and suddenly I'd got a business selling wildflowers from my back garden in an 8x6 greenhouse in a coal frame.
Over the next 25 years, Linda's business, along with her wildflowers, blossomed.
We've now got 6 acres and we grow over 1 million plants a year, all native, and try to do our little bit to help restore the countryside. Well, there's some more red poppies over here. Let's have a look, see if we can see some more bees. Our native plants are so beautiful, primroses and violets, and in the summer the harebells, hemp agrimony, which has lovely fluffy pink flowers on it, and the bees and the hoverflies just swarm all over it. More efficient. Every single person who's got a garden should be considering putting wildflowers in there. We, as individuals, can actually help the decline. Sorry.
Well, I hope I've persuaded you that wildflowers are wonderful things to include in any garden. And it's something that if we all care about, then we all look after because they belong to us and they're part of our daily lives. So everybody, everywhere benefits.
At one point in our rich gardening heritage, the front garden was highly valued. It was the place to show off our gardening prowess. Over time, though, this intrinsic part of our home's design has fallen out of favour and simply become a no-man's land between the street and our front door. But worse than that still, it's being concreted over at an alarming rate. But getting rid of this planted buffer can reduce drainage by up to 50%, increase pollution and adversely affect our very well-being. I'm Joe Swift and I'm here to convince you to breathe new life into the Great British front garden. On my mission, I meet the expert who wants us to fight pollution through greenery.
If you put the plants very close to the traffic, then they have a greater chance of soaking up the pollution and making a significant reduction.
I get inspired by the anti-concrete community who have won awards for their planting prowess.
It's cleaner, it's nicer here, and the gardens look better, but also everybody's talking to each other. There's a wonderful social cohesion.
And show you how to transform your own front garden in a few simple steps. So don't concrete them over, don't pave them all over. There's always a solution. I've come to the northeast of England where, sadly, some of the worst damage has been done to our front gardens. Here, nearly half of them have been mostly paved over in the nation's desire to turn them into miniature car parks. But there is one exception. This is Rockcliffe Avenue, a terrace of 24 houses, each with their own strip of front garden leading out onto this charming alleyway. Now, all the residents here take enormous pride in their neighbourhood, which makes it the perfect place to kickstart my front garden revival. It all started 6 years ago when the neighbours came together to brighten up their dingy alleyway with a few pots, and the transformation was instant.
We used to have a lot of kids who used to cause havoc, and it stopped all of that. And people don't drop rubbish in the street anymore, neither.
It's a different place. It's transformed it. We all get involved and help with the weeding, deadheading, and contributing, basically.
What started with a few plants has now become the talk of the town, and in 2010 they even won an award for Best Street in North Tyneside, and their efforts have had an even more profound effect.
It's definitely brought the neighbours together. We all come out and we all do our own pots and that. It's made a friendlier street.
Everybody in the street wants to natter and chat about the gardens, about the pots.
So what took a quarter of an hour now takes 2 hours to do.
I know we don't have as much time as we used to, and we have to think practically about how we use these spaces. But I'm determined to show you why it's time to rekindle your love of what's right outside your front door. To start my revival, I'm heading to Letchworth Garden City, the vision of Victorian architect Ebenezer Howard, who pioneered the idea of a patch of green outside your front door. I'm meeting historian Caroline Holmes to get a greater insight. So I've been walking around Letchworth Garden City and it's unbelievable. It is incredibly green and obviously designed in the first place with front gardens and green space in mind.
Absolutely, it was key. Ebenezer Howard looked at people squashed into city centres and said, no, there's no way, it's not good for your health, it's not good for your well-being. Earn city wages and live somewhere that's green and pleasant and takes you back to all our roots, back to countryside. By giving every house a front garden, it provides another piece of green. And as you look down the streets, you have hedges and trees and shrubs and all the different houses and their different styles that are all part of the public space, but still owned individually. And there's a sort of civic pride in making sure that you're not letting the side down.
Absolutely. This place really is incredible. One of the reasons this great British heritage is alive and kicking in Letchworth is because front gardens are protected by law here, which is sadly not the case across the rest of the country, where many of them have been completely paved over. So when was the start of the decline of the front garden?
I would say I'd put it at the 1960s. There is increased use of cars, people need the space, so they tend to pave it over. Goodbye front garden for the moment.
And that was it. So the car really was the beginning of the end.
That seems very sad, but possibly it's the case.
So the #1 obstacle in my campaign to save the front garden is the question of where to park the 28 million cars we have in the UK, a problem that's very apparent only a few miles away. I've been walking up and down this road in Watford for about 5 minutes, and some of the gardens are quite nice, but most of them are just car parking spaces, and frankly, it's quite depressing. In London alone, over the last 5 years, 120,000 applications were made to lower the curb for off-street parking. One major issue caused by our need for cars is loud and clear. Paving over the front garden has a dangerous effect on water drainage, something London Wildlife Trust Director of Policy, Matthew Frith, is well aware of.
1 or 2 front gardens on a street that have been paved over don't have much of an impact. Once it starts to get to hundreds, thousands into a neighbourhood, which in some parts of our cities they really are, then all it takes is a relatively heavy rain period. All of a sudden, the sewers can't cope. So the water has to find somewhere to go, and that's when you get those flash floods. And there are parts of our cities which are already vulnerable to that because we have literally stripped our gardens away.
David, you're an independent parking expert. And is your argument that we just need somewhere to park cars?
That's right. 3/4 of the households in Britain have a car, 40% of them have 2 cars. And increasingly, it's difficult to park on the road, and the front garden is the only place where they can park their cars.
Are you concerned about the environmental effect? Are drivers on the whole concerned about the environmental effect?
Unfortunately, in a period of economic difficulty, the environment goes pretty low down on motorists' priority list.
What do you think, Matthew? Do you think the front garden can be a garden and somewhere to park the car too?
Absolutely. The clever solution is to provide parking which is hard but it's porous, so that addresses, at least in some way, the surface water runoff. But there are always spaces to put a little bit of vegetation, whether it's flower beds or something that's a little wilder for wildlife. Those can be done, and when you see it, you begin to change the kind of feeling of the community again.
Parking isn't an option on Rockcliffe Avenue here in Whitley Bay because the row of front gardens on the terrace are accessed by this beautifully planted alley. Everything here is grown in containers. But if you want your front garden to be both practical and hard-wearing, I've got a few tips which will help you achieve it without turning it into a paved wasteland. Now, if you don't think you can have a nice front garden with plenty of plants in it and somewhere to park the car, then think again. There is always a way. And this is a handy piece of kit. It's a reinforced hexagonal plastic mesh that goes into the ground, and it means that water can penetrate through it. At the same time, you can park your car where there's gravel or plants. These plastic grids will support the weight of a car, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to install them as if you were starting your front garden from scratch. You put a landscape fabric, that's this stuff, over the soil, and then that will let the water drain through but also stop the weeds coming up through it at the same time. And then on top of that we put a layer of sand, and then we just bed this stuff in to the top of it. You can fill it with all sorts of stuff. Say you wanted to have a lawn, you would use a nice bit of loamy topsoil with a bit of sand in there as well. Don't use just garden compost from the garden centre because it's not quite got the body. And then it's important just to pat it down as well. Run your hand over the top to leave a nice fluffy texture, perfect for sowing grass seed. Most people oversow, they put too much down, so just sprinkle a light amount generally. The ideal time to do this is late summer, early autumn, about September, October, or spring again, because the temperature's warm enough for it to germinate really well. Make sure to pat that in as well so that the grass seed is in contact with the soil, and then keep it well watered while it establishes itself. And that'll green up in no time. You'll have a lovely lawn that you can actually drive the car over. But I like to mix it up a little bit. You can also use gravel. Again, it's a really good medium. It gives a textural contrast to a lawn and the plants surrounding it too. So you just get handfuls of gravel and just fill in the gaps like that. And again, you can drive the car over it. and it looks really good. If you've already got a lawn in your front garden and you're thinking of turning it into a car park, well, why don't you use this stuff again? But just turn it over, and what you do is actually just push it into the ground, a bit like a pastry cutter, yeah? And that will actually let the grass grow through it, but be able to take the weight of a car as well. So it will green up in no time. You can see where the car tracks go, and it's as simple as that. So don't concrete them over, don't pave them all over. There's always a solution.
The next stop on my mission is Birmingham University to find out why front gardens aren't just vital for water drainage. Professor Rob Mackenzie has spent 25 years studying the relationship between trees and pollution.
I'm right behind you in the campaign to bring back the front garden, because we've known for decades that pollution is taken up by plants. If you put the plants very close to the source of the pollution, to the traffic, then they have a greater chance of soaking up the pollution and making a significant reduction, perhaps as much as 10 or 20%. There are two effects. One is a purely physical effect. It's like putting a piece of filter paper between you and the pollution, capturing tiny, tiny particles on their leaves and to a certain extent to the stems and twigs and so on. There is another process which is happening simultaneously, and that's to do with the way that plants breathe. So they have particular little breathing holes on their leaves called stomata, and they exchange gases through that. We all know that plants take up carbon dioxide, they release oxygen, thank goodness. Yeah. But they also take up pollutants through these breathing holes.
Are some plants better than others for dealing with pollution?
Yes, they almost certainly are, although it's at very early days for this. But we do know that as long as the plants have lots of leaves, to a certain extent we think that hair on the leaves is important too, then all the plants will be providing a benefit.
Right, I'm going to tackle this issue head on and get the public planting.
This is a really good plant for a front garden. I plant these all over the place. Convolvulus sonorum. It's like these sort of hairy leaves, which Rob was talking about is good for pollution.
No more excuses. If I pick the perfect front garden greenery,
Serrata stigma wilmotianum,
and give it away for free, the nation can't say no.
Honeysuckle.
These are all tough plants that thrive in most garden soils and are easy to look after.
See, trees as well, you know, you can get a lot of trees in a front garden. A small tree, perfect for a front garden. But I'm not giving away trees. They can come and buy their own. What do you think this is? Well, I've got some lovely plants there, enough to start the campaign of transforming the nation's front gardens. I'm just going to need some help, I think. Right, better get these on board then.
One small plant for mankind, one giant step for the great British front garden.
Right, let's get some plants away.
I'm starting in North London, an area I know that needs some serious help.
Yeah, there's some pretty bad ones here on the right. Hello. Hello, darling. She doesn't know what's incoming for her. I'll be honest with you, I can't see one flower.
Yeah, I know, but because I put the car.
I know, but look at all the gaps around here. Around here, look, you could put it on here in a nice big pot.
Here.
Here in a nice big pot.
Yeah.
There are now a shocking 12 square miles of front garden under paving in the capital alone, an area equivalent to 22 Hyde Parks.
It doesn't look like anyone's in, but honestly, this one desperately needs some help. I mean, look at this pot over here. Look at that. Look at that. I'm going to leave it there. Does that make any difference? Not much. But they'll be wondering who the mystery gardener is.
I've definitely got my work cut out. Remember, it only takes one plant to start a pollution revolution.
I would like you to take this plant. Yes. Yeah, it's a beautiful dianthus. It'll keep flowering for a long time. Put it in a pot, take some cuttings, hand it to your neighbours, get everyone growing, gardening. Think about their front garden a little bit more.
Spread the love.
And spread the love, exactly. Look at that, that is really good. Pachysandra, and that will spread and spread and spread.
You never know, one day I might get you to come and...
Yeah, I'll give you my card later. Give me a shout.
Yeah. All right.
OK, Lauren. Nice to meet you. Cheers. I might get a job out of that. Keep spreading the word.
All right.
Cheers, thank you.
Well, seems like here, at least, my front garden revival is off to a good start. So greener streets for a greener planet. The Rockcliffe Avenue residents are totally committed to the cause. Every inch of this alleyway is helping the environment and keeping our glorious front garden heritage alive.
Now, you don't need a lot of space in your front garden to grow some plants. In fact, you don't need any. All you need's a wall, and everyone's got one of those, right? A lot of people are worried about climbers on walls. They think, oh no, it's going to damage the pointing, going to damage the brickwork. Well, as long as the pointing and brickwork is sound before you plant, it's going to be absolutely fine. In fact, there's a school of thought that says it protects the brickwork and insulates the house too. So here, we've got an ugly drain pipe, and a lot of people have got ugly drain pipes. Very few plants are going to actually attach themselves to plastic. They'll all slide down. So the first thing to do is put something that they're going to twine up or cling onto first. So there's this quite nifty little semicircular trellis work. I've put one up already just to save a bit of time, and I'm going to put the second one in, and it's literally a case of a few screws into the wall. I've chosen this lovely Clematis armandii. It's got these lovely glossy leaves. It's an evergreen plant, and Clematis will grow nicely in a pot. And the first thing you've got to do with pots is put some drainage in. Well, I'm just using some old broken up pots, but you can use a bit of polystyrene, a bit of packaging. And then on top of that, I'm using some compost. And I'm using something with a bit of guts, really. This has got a little bit of composted bark added in, because Clematis like it quite fibrous, and they actually like to be planted quite deep, so don't fill it up too much. I'm just going to pop it out of the pot there. Make sure it's leaning the way I want it to, so I can just train it up the trellis, and then backfill with plenty of compost. And there you go. And then I'm going to water it in, because the roots are a little bit dry, and a Clematis never likes to dry out. And then just on top of that nice damp compost, I'm going to put some beach pebbles as well. Clematis, they like to have their roots in shade and their heads in a bit of sunshine. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is just tie the Clematis into the trellis here and just encourage it to start growing. Actually, it's got tendrils, as you can see here, so it will start clinging itself, but I'm just going to get it going. Just these simple loops. There's a whole range of plants that actually you could grow. Things like roses and jasmine and ivies and even climbing hydrangeas and plants like that are fantastic for softening a house. That now won't need clipping on at all. Once it gets going, it will actually start attaching itself and scramble its way up here. And the key is just to not let it dry out at all in the pot. But this guttering is dripping nicely. It's dripping on my head, and now it's dripping into the pot. So I'm gonna have to have a word with number 24. This is an area I'm really passionate about. I live not far from here at all, and the beloved Arsenal are just round the corner. And there's a community, I'm told, that are coming together through their front gardens here. And, well, the first signs are really promising.
4 years ago, Islington Council in North London started a wildflower seed giveaway, which inspired 2 of the residents in the Blackstock Triangle to take it a step further. They've now got the whole community gardening together. Nicolette Jones is one of the founders of this brilliant initiative.
How easy was it to get people on board in the first place?
Well, it was quite easy, but I think there are 2 things you need to remember. One is that it works best if you are fearless about knocking on doors. Introduce yourself, tell them who you are. We talk to people personally. And the second thing is it's very important not to tell people what they have to do, to wag a finger and tell them they should tidy their front garden or they should plant their tree pit. What we did was we knocked on doors and offered them something. We would say, would you like a free window box with some flowers in it? Or would you like a bag with earth and some seeds so that you can grow vegetables on your front path? We started always by giving people something, and the extraordinary thing was when you give them something, they give more back. We found that we give people a window box and they would start putting pots full of flowers on their concrete forecourt.
I think what they've done here is fantastic. They didn't just get gardening. People Power helped convince the council to remove concrete from some of the front gardens, the key to solving that all-important drainage issue. And I only have to walk a few feet from Nicolette's front door to find an eager, green-fingered local.
We gardening triangle say that if you can, thou shalt clean and de-weed thy neighbour's tree pits. And that's what I've been doing.
That's a very good motto.
That's what I've been doing.
And that's a very good plant for a tree pit.
It's a very pretty little plant, isn't it? It's lovely.
Yeah.
And they're robust and excellent things, this time of the year in particular.
I'm really impressed by all the work they've done here. I think I better lend a hand planting this Japanese anemone.
It's all worth it, right?
It's totally worth it. It's worth it because the place looks better and it's cleaner and it's nicer here and the gardens look better. But also, everybody's talking to each other. There's a wonderful social cohesion.
So gardening can really pull people together.
Gardening has done it.
It must give people a lot of pride in their neighbourhood.
It certainly has. This whole process really does work.
Robert's not the only resident that's seen the benefits.
Without the gardening initiative, I just don't think people would know one another like they do, so it has been fantastic.
There used to be sort of gardens with nothing but concrete and dustbins, and now all of them have something interesting going on in them, and as you walk past it sort of makes you smile, and every day or every month there's a new garden that's looking nicer and nicer as people see what's happening around them.
The jewel in the Blackstock crown is at the end of the street, a whole garden donated by 2 of its residents.
I think it's lovely that someone actually give their garden to the community.
It's amazing.
You know.
It was an amazing thing. Here we are, rhubarb, we're stepping over.
Wow.
This with the disco balls in it is a glam rockery.
Oh, yes, OK.
Yes. It's been several years now, so we've had different things each year. But it's great because it's been changing array of different kinds of edible and decorative plants all together.
What would you say to people who lived in a street, they didn't know their neighbours and they didn't care much about their front gardens either?
Well, not only have you got potentially a great space for growing food and for making something beautiful, a sort of shop window to your house, if you do start gardening the front garden, you will start to know your neighbours. Once you know your neighbours, it's amazing how the sense of community can grow. Once that grows, the benefits go beyond having a beautiful garden because neighbours help each other, they feed each other's cats, they watch out for burglars. They are sort of one big family, really, and they help each other in all sorts of ways. People, walk to the local shops because the streets and the gardens are pretty, and so it's good for the local economy.
So it makes it a desirable property.
Already the estate agents are commenting on it in this area.
So not only will gardening bring your community together, it may also add value to your house.
Well, the neighbourhood spirit is certainly alive and kicking here in Rockcliffe Avenue in Whitley Bay. All the residents muck in together to keep this alleyway looking absolutely fantastic, and it's packed full of a huge variety of plants, looking particularly good at the moment. This is one of my favourites, Cosmos. It just flowers all summer long, and all you have to do is just keep deadheading it and more flowers will come. Now you might think, well, I haven't got time for all of that, Joe. Well, you're not the only one. Louise, it must be lovely living here.
It's amazing, lovely.
Surrounded by plants and gardens and keen garden. Yours has got a lot of gravel in it, hasn't it? Do you feel like you're letting the side down a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I need to sort of do a little bit more, I think.
And why is that?
I think it's time. A lot of it's time. I'm a full-time working mum.
So you're going to take Reese off to school?
Yes.
And then you're going to work?
Yes, I am, yeah.
OK, well, we'll see what we can do,
Okay.
and we'll see you back here later on.
Lovely, thank you.
I've only got a couple of hours to give Louise's front garden a bit of a spruce up. Luckily, Mike and Jenny, the street's top gardeners, are here to help.
You're up for this, are you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, OK.
I think so.
Yeah.
Good, well, let's get cracking then.
Where should I put this in?
First job, and it's free. Let's hide that unsightly gas meter.
That's better, that's much better. It deflects the eye, you don't see it so much, and the rhododendron's going to grow a bit more. Yeah. Perfect.
Next, the crucial stage.
I'm thinking one there, one there.
Lay your plants out to see exactly where you want them.
2 spades.
2 spades.
Right, time to get stuck in. Well, for Mike and Jenny.
We're doing the digging, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, you got the hang of it?
Yeah.
What's underneath?
Start by scraping the gravel away.
So what we need to do is get a knife
cut the landscape fabric.
This is lovely soil.
And dig a hole that's big enough to comfortably take the roots.
And just break up some of the roots.
It's best to choose a perennial that flowers year after year, like these punchy purple asters, sunny rudbeckias, and grasses which are great to break up the gravel.
Looks good.
I've also brought some annual snapdragons which will decorate the drain pipe and need replacing once they die, giving Louise and Reese some fun replanting them with whatever they like.
That's looking really good, Mike. You've done that before, haven't you?
A few times. Trenches.
It really is.
We've saved the biggest job till last.
Oh, that's about perfect there.
A crabapple tree to give Louise some privacy and the ingredients to make tasty jellies.
Oh, it's really good there. It just instantly breaks up the space at eye level, you know. A small tree in a small garden really can make a difference. Here they come.
Well, I love it and the neighbours love it, but what will Louise and Reese think?
Hiya.
Hi.
Good day?
Yes.
Good, good.
Oh, wow. It's amazing. Gosh, what a difference.
Mike and Jenny did most of the work, frankly. I left them to it.
It's lovely.
What do you think, Reese? You like it? What's your favourite bit?
The apple tree.
The tree, the crabapple tree. Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Really pleased with it.
It'll make you feel part of the neighbourhood from a gardening point of view.
Thank you.
Phew, it's got a seal of approval. My campaign has been to show you just how important our front gardens are. They're vital in our busy cities. Here in Elephant and Castle, South London, Richard Reynolds is on his own green crusade, but went about it in a rather unusual way.
So I moved here to central London 9 years ago to a flat in this block which has no garden, and soon realised that this was a big frustration, because for me gardening as a kid was something I was obsessive about. So I channeled that obsession into turning the neglected council flower beds around this block into my front garden. And what began as a late-night, illicit, secretive guerrilla activity, for me now is something that I do just as I would were it my own.
Richard's guerrilla gardening has now got the full support of the local council. They're even giving him funding as his mission spreads to other abandoned patches of green, much to the delight of the local residents.
I love the flowers, I love even the fruit trees that he's growing. So it's wonderful, and I think there should be more of it.
Brightens up your day, really, to be honest, yeah.
Makes me happy because I love the trees, the grass, and it's really good.
This is an immensely satisfying place to tend. It's a really social space too, and I would encourage anyone with a bit of land at the front of their house, whether it's theirs or not, to go out there and tend it, to not only see what they can grow, but to see who they meet.
Front gardens aren't all about keeping up appearances, they're about bringing people together, and they're great for the environment too. But if we don't get out and do something about them, we're going to lose more and more of the great British front garden.